What's up everybody, I hope you're all having a great week. I apologize for the lack of uploads over the past week and a half, and this video is actually supposed to be uploaded on Monday. I just got a lot going on right now, but I'm really excited to get back into the swing of things. As always, there's a ton of fantastic questions to get into in this episode, so thank you so much to everybody who participated, whether your question was featured in this video or not. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get started. The first question comes from Welcome to Detroit, who says, out of all the Canadian teams, which team do you think has the best cup odds? This is a pretty easy one for me. I definitely have to go with the Calgary Flames. They're going to get most likely a much more easy first round matchup than Toronto is going to get over in the Eastern Conference. I just think the Calgary Flames are built almost perfectly to go on a deep playoff run. They have arguably the best top six in the entire National Hockey League right now in terms of how everybody's playing at this moment. They added a lot of depth throughout the season as well, getting the likes of Tyler Toffoli, Calle Jarnkrok. They're well coached. They're all bought into the system. Markstrom's having a fantastic season. So in my opinion, I think the Calgary Flames definitely have the highest cup odds of all the Canadian teams. Speaking of the Calgary Flames, moving on to the next question. This one comes from Benjamin Stang, who says, do the Flames trade Sean Monahan in the offseason, and if so, what does the return look like? The way Sean Monahan has just completely fallen off and has become a real non-factor for the Calgary Flames is kind of crazy. I mean, this is a guy who had 5 25-plus goal seasons, had 34 goals and 82 points in 2018-19. That was only 3 seasons ago. Sean Monahan is only 27. This is a player who should realistically still be in the absolute midst of his prime, but now he's just a guy that Calgary really doesn't even need. He was a healthy scratch a couple of games ago. I think he's got like 1 point in his last 2 months of action. You talk about a trade and what a return for Sean Monahan could look like. There's a lot of Calgary Flames fans talking about a potential Sean Monahan buyout in the offseason. It's going to be really interesting to see what Calgary decides to do. At this point, I feel like it's almost a given that they're going to try to rid themselves of this cap hit one way or the other in the offseason, whether it's a buyout, whether it's, a cap dump trade. And if the Flames do go the route of a cap dump trade, you ask, what a return could look like. I can honestly see a scenario where a team gives up like a 5th round pick in return for Monahan and they get like a 3rd along with taking the contract on. It feels crazy to say that, but that's really how bad Sean Monahan has been this season, and let's not act like he had a great season last year either. The next question we have comes from Jinja Ninja, who says, with Cole Caufield lighting it up right now, should he be talked about for the Calder race even though Montreal is out? I really don't think it has anything to do with Montreal being out of the playoff race and them being a bad team. I just think Cole Caufield's slow start to the season under Dom Ducharme, his stint in the AHL, that was just too big of a hole to get out of. There's a lot of good rookies this season. Now, if Cole Caufield played this entire season under Marty St. Louis, I feel like there's a very high chance that he would be the Calder frontrunner at this point. I mean, since St. Louis took over, he has been the best rookie. It's been a lot of fun to watch. He's been on an absolute tear. He's scoring goals like he scored in college. He looks as advertised, but I just feel like his hot streak started a little bit too late for him to, be able to thrust himself into the Calder Trophy conversation. This next question comes from Jesse, who says, which team do you think did the best at the trade deadline, buyer or seller? For seller, I definitely feel like it has to be Anaheim. I think Pat Verbeek did an amazing job at his first deadline as GM of the Ducks. They got a great return for Josh Manson, huge returns for Lindholm and Raquel. I believe, if I remember correctly, they got a 3rd round pick for Delorier as well. And every player that the Ducks traded that they got big returns for were going to be UFAs at the end of the season, so I think they had a great deadline. Also, Montreal honorable mention for seller as well. I think they got fantastic returns for Lehkonen and Sherratt. And a team that I think did really well as a buyer, honestly, the New York Rangers. They added a lot, getting some bottom 6 depth scoring with Frank Vatrano. I think he had a 2-goal game the other night, picking up Andrew Kopp as well to kind of fill out that top 9, and they also get a little bit of help on the blue line with Justin Braun, who's still a really solid defensive defenseman, and they did all that without giving up a 1st round pick or a high-end prospect. Next up, we have a comment from Rage Waffles, who says, I'm sure you get asked this question all the time, but what's your heart race looking like? In my opinion, Matthews should take it, but Shesterkin is right there as well. If the season ended today, I think Austin Matthews should win the Hart Trophy. Shesterkin has cooled off a little bit over the past 2 weeks, and I definitely think that has helped Austin Matthews' case. I mean, he's going to be close to scoring 60 goals this season while putting up ridiculous results at both ends of the ice. He's doing that on a very good team as well. I feel like it's kind of hard to deny him the Hart at this point, but there's definitely a lot of other worthy candidates to be in the conversation. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau has really came on. I think he deserves a lot more credit. Obviously, Shesterkin is still there. Can't forget about McDavid. Jonathan Huberdeau is probably going to be in the conversation, so it should be a pretty fun Hart Trophy race down the stretch. Moving along now, this question comes from 12 Lego 2, who says, after Jake Sanderson signed his ELC with the Senators. Where do you think he will slot in the lineup? Love the vids and keep up the great work. Thank you for the support. In all likelihood, I think when he plays in the Senators lineup, Jake Sanderson is immediately going to be a player that's in their top 4 and playing pretty big minutes. I imagine we're going to see him get into some action this season, but I don't think Ottawa plans on playing him more than 9 games. I just don't see a point in wasting a year of his ELC this season when Ottawa's not even close to a playoff race. But I would definitely say he's almost a lock to make the team next season, and like I said, I think immediately he's probably going to be playing top 4 minutes. The next question we have comes from Hugh Barkhurst, who says, a pending UFA I haven't heard anyone talk about as of late is PK Subban. What do you think is going to happen to him this offseason? That's a good point. I don't really hear anyone talking about PK Subban and what could happen with him in the offseason either. Obviously, his play has fell off in a pretty big way over the past, 3-4 seasons especially, and during that time, he's still been getting paid, $9 million a season. At that cap hit, obviously he's not a very attractive player for teams, but I definitely think he's still going to get a lot of interest as a UFA in the offseason, probably get a deal similar to the one Ryan Suter got when he signed in Dallas. Maybe not get quite as much as Ryan Suter did and, get as much term as Suter did, but something along the lines of that I could see happening. And as far as a fit for Subban, I'm honestly not really sure what team I could see him signing with. I don't think it's too crazy to think that he could just re-sign in New Jersey. Moving on now, this question comes from You've Got Red on You, I think that is. What is your opinion on the current Norris candidates? Maybe it's my bias talking, but Yossi feels slept on outside of the Nashville market. At this point in the season, I feel like the Norris Trophy race is still completely up in the air. At one point in the year, it felt like Cale Makar kind of ran away with things, but there is no player in the league, I believe, since the year turned to 2022 that has more points than Roman Josi. There's a legit chance that Roman Josi cracks the 100-point mark this season. He's going to be real close to it, and I feel like since he's gotten so hot to, kind of finish out the season down the stretch, that recency bias could definitely play a factor in the Norris voting and, help Roman Josi a lot as well. I feel like at this point, to most people, Cale Makar is still the favorite, and I feel like he probably will win. Most sports books I've seen still have him as the favorite to win by a pretty good margin, but Roman Josi and the tear that he's been on is definitely making things a lot more interesting. Moving on now, this comes from Sounds, who says 11-2. Yeah, and to think the coach of the professional team that lost 11-2 is still employed. I seen a stat that absolutely blew my mind, but Detroit has had games this season where they allowed only 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals, 7 goals, 8 goals, 9 goals, 10 goals, and 11 goals. They're also the first team in the salary cap era to allow 11 goals in a single game. Pretty impressive. The next question comes from Hatrick Kane, who says, it's a broken record, but what does Edmonton do with their goalie situation after the 9-5 loss against Calgary? I mean, at this point in the season, with us being past the trade deadline, there's really nothing the Oilers can do unless they, get lucky and claim a guy off waivers who goes on an absolute heater for them, but they kind of just got to ride with Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen. I still can't believe they didn't make a trade for a goaltender at the deadline. They really just have to hope one of Smith or Koskinen gets hot at the right time, which is definitely possible. I mean, goaltending is really weird, but I've said it multiple times this year. With that goaltending tandem, I just can't take Edmonton seriously. I don't view them as legit contenders at all, and that really hasn't changed. I honestly just feel more confident about that now. Next up, this question comes from Daniel Mayer, who says, do you think the NHL will go back to the 1-8 playoff matchup format? The current format provides us the same matchups again and again. I missed the 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, etc. Made for fresher matchups and was more intriguing. Thoughts, and thank you for the support. I totally agree with you. You hit the nail right on the head. It feels like we're getting a lot of the same matchups year after year, and I just feel like 1 versus 8 makes a lot more sense. I don't really know why the NHL felt the need to change it. I mean, the NBA still goes, with the 1 versus 8, although they have the play-in tournament now, but I'm definitely all for that format returning because that's what I prefer over the current format, but I don't really think there's a great chance we see it happen. The next question comes from Sam Bourne, who says, what do you think about Alexis Lafreniere? He has been on a good point streak, yet he got recently moved to the 3rd line. Would you consider him a player that will never reach his potential, or as a player who will still have a long NHL career ahead of him? Basically, where I'm at on Lafreniere is he's probably never going to live up to the hype, that was surrounding him when he came into that draft. He's probably never going to be a franchise-altering superstar player, but I do 100% believe he's still going to have a very long and productive NHL career. He's got 15 goals on the season, he's got a chance at 20 this year, and he's actually 3rd on the Rangers in terms of even strength goals per 60 minutes, only behind Kreider and actually Frank Vatrano, who's newly acquired. So he's a very good finisher at even strength. I think he's only going to continue to get better, but I just don't really think he's ever going to be, a franchise-altering player like he was kind of advertised to be heading into the 2020 draft. And now finishing out the video, the final question comes from a bunch of letters. You can see the name on the screen. What do you think about the Leafs reversible jersey? Do you think this is something we could see more of in the NHL? I actually like them. I think the side that they wear on the ice looks very sharp, very clean. I don't know why so many people hated on the fact that it was reversible and like the design of the inside of the jersey. I feel like it was a lot of old people, but what I feel like those people didn't realize is the fact that the Leafs aren't gonna wear the inside of the jersey, like the gold and black version or the yellow and black version, on the ice. That's just for fans as a second option. So yeah, I thought it was a great idea. It gave fans, you know, another option. You're basically getting 2 jerseys for the price of 1, which I think is pretty sweet. But yeah, if you're somebody who didn't like the inside of the jersey, just don't wear it. And also, you're not going to have to watch the Leafs wear it on the ice because they're only going to be wearing, you know, the black and blue side. So that is going to wrap up this episode of the Ask Me Anything series. Thank you all so much for the fantastic questions. I had a lot of fun recording this episode. If you want to see another one next week, then be sure to drop a like on this video. That is the best way to show your support and let me know that you enjoyed. And also, if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.